Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to the new video. We're gonna do our legend hits today, and actually we've been getting quite good defenses already, and yesterday was a pretty good day too, even though we actually did have our fail. But no worries, we have been doing pretty good, and hopefully we can keep the streak going for the rest of the season. We still have 5 days left, so that said, let's get straight into it and make sure we get our 320 in today and keep rising on leaderboards. So first up, we have kind of a weird base actually, with the rage tower compartments for the town hall, but looks a bit off-centered and unsymmetrical. So I do think the log launcher approach does work pretty well. That's why I chose this RC entry. And yeah, let's see how far we can make it. Doesn't seem to be trapped up in any capacity, so that's good. If I can actually get this flame spinner down, I think that would be pretty high value. Just like this, and we can perfectly set up the log launcher with the queen right now to get this monolith down. So let's go for that. So I'll try and reinforce with the skeleton spell and put the king and the witches on the outside. I'm hoping I can actually get the spitter with the king. So let's use an invisibility so the queen stays alive too, and then we can put the roots in. Queen barely staying alive, so it's good enough. The roots should be good. From there, I'll pop the king ability in the hope to get the spitter compartment down quick enough so my roots go into the rage tower compartment with town hall. Yeah, perfect. Now we can use the overgrowth on this other spitter, and we should have perfect pathing for the rest of the hits. King did die, but it doesn't matter. Let's just use these headhunters for the minion prints. Not actually sure why I put them so far, because yeah, the bomb tower is still just targeting them, but minion prince goes down, so this should be a clean triple. Let's just use the rage. Actually, I definitely should have used the freeze to save the queen. It would have been much cleaner, but no issues. We do still have this down. I always like these unsymmetrical bases for the look of it, but most of them aren't really all that strong because it's very hard to be unsymmetrical and good from every entry. So that's why we have bases like these where it's actually pretty symmetrical. And there's also a base from previous season or the season before that, so I always used this entry. So let me try that again. I want to get these two in archer towers down so I can set the funnel perfectly to enter from the 3 o'clock corner, which should be perfect right now. The fox did die, so let's just recall out and save the last invisibility, and then we can put the roots in from 3 o'clock and use the queen to cut off the funnel. Let's just get the whole army in, and I'll try to make sure the king doesn't get targeted by this monolith. Also, of course, the queen is being kind of stupid with this minion prince, but no issues. She stayed alive, so it should be perfectly good. This is a very high damage area, so let me rage it up again and then use the overgrowth to make sure my army stays nice and tight together. We're looking pretty good. Still have quite a bunch of troops left and not that much base anymore. Luckily, we do still have the free spell for when the RC or something valuable of the army gets target, so I'll use it right here to save the RC. And then, yeah, we have more than enough stuff left. So also the king ability. So let me use that, and that is base down. Second triples in. Hopefully we can keep the streak rolling. There we go. Okay, so right here we have an invisibility core base again, and yeah, we failed on it yesterday, but wasn't because the base is actually good. So let me just try the same type of entry, and should be perfect right now, as long as we use the recall instead of the overgrowth like last time. So let's not do that and keep this RC a little bit going a little bit longer. She's actually taking down the queen, which is quite nice for us. And then we'll just recall out. We've got more than enough value. Don't think... Yeah, we don't need this ricochet cannon now. Was not worth an extra invisibility or the RC damage. So let's use the log launcher from this corner. Perfect. And then the roots in from here, going with a very high or far funnel with the king and queen to make sure that my army goes straight to the core after. On this base, it's actually the only thing that matters, to make sure that enough of the army goes into the core so you can actually get that down. So like you can see, there's no other path for the Root Rider army to go into the core, so let's rage up that again and use our spells where needed, like right here too. And then for this back end we have an overgrowth, and everything should go down quite smoothly. There's very much stuff of our army that's actually died in this core, but we still have the king ability, and there's also not really any base left anymore. When I use the king ability, these ricochet cannons should go down, and then we have our third triple. Okay, here we have the side compartment rage tower base again, so let's do the same entry as we've always done, and that's the start right here. Take down this corner or this compartment. No, we can just recall out. I'm actually really liking the two invisibilities here for the back end, so most of the time I'm using those and not using the two others to get a larger RC charge going. So let me get the king as a counter funnel and use the roots right there. Get some headhunters in for this minion prince, hopefully. And then the log launcher should be doing some very good work on the town hall. Meanwhile, let's rage up the army and pop this warden ability. Very good king ability too. Now we can use the overgrowth on half of the rage tower compartment once it triggers. I did really want to get this crusher mortar into, because it just does so much damage when going into that. We still have so many spells left, and actually pretty much of the army itself is still alive too. So once this overgrowth wakes up, let's just pop the rage, pop the freeze, and yeah, keep the invisibilities for when it's necessary, but they should be a very clean triple. Yep. We can swag the two invises. Okay, here we have this quite common rage core base, and not sure how I used to take it down actually. Also a base from next season. I think it was to start the RC from here and take down this corner, and when the RC paths right, might actually be better to go for this Monolith. So let's try that with the redirect spell right here. And then we should get this Monolith and hopefully the poison tower down. And with that, our funnel should be set more than enough to start from this 9 o'clock corner. Let's get the queen in from right there, using the ice golem to make sure that my queen doesn't actually get targeted by this X-bow, because I do really want her to stay alive, of course. Get the king and the witches on the outside. Now I would really like to get this king. Now it's just better if he keeps walking on the side. I was trying to get him into the scatter compartment, but my troops keep leaking into the rage core, so let me just overgrowth it so my army can wrap around nicely and not cause too many awkward splits. This should be perfect as well, so if we can keep our spells just a little bit longer, let me rage up, and then we can use the last of our spells on this core once the overgrowth wakes up, just like this, and then it goes down pretty easy. Didn't go fully according to the plan, but yeah, more than enough. Let's pop the king ability, and that should be based down with the queen. That'll take this multi inferno down. And yeah, that's another triple. Once again, a very good start of the day already, so let's hope we can keep it up for the rest of the day and get the 320 in. Okay, so this base is, I've seen it quite a bunch of times right now, and it's actually just one compartment that's super heavy. So yeah, I'm gonna use more than enough resources to get that down. So mostly I start entry for the RC on this corner, and then she either goes for the spitter compartments or this Monolith compartments, and both are actually pretty good. So this time she's choosing the Monolith side. So how do we deal with that? Once this compartment actually goes down, we should have a perfect entry into the 12 o'clock corner. Mostly when she chooses the spitter side, I go in from the 6 o'clock corner and go straight into this heavy compartment with the warden ability. But yeah, this time let's make our route entry from right here at the 11-12 o'clock side. We did create a perfect funnel for this entry actually with the RC. So meanwhile the king will wrap around, and we have a very clean path for the route riders. Let's rage up, keep our warden ability for as long as possible while fighting through these ice golems, but the crusher mortar also hit me, so needed the warden ability, and then we can use this overgrowth. And yeah, like you can see, this is such a heavy compartment, so I'm using all the spells I have to make sure I can get through it, because once that's down, it's pretty much base gone. So using everything for that. And then we can start the cleanup from here. And like you can see, there's just absolutely nothing left except for the spitter compartment, which should go down quite easily due to the amount of troops we still have left. So easy enough. Another triple. Once again, very happy with the hits we're doing today. It's clean and it's no mistakes. So let's keep that up. Okay. Once again, the rage site compartment base. So don't need to explain too much about this one because we know the entry and we know what the troubles can be for this base. So let's just do the same thing. Get this compartment next to the monolith down and go for the log launcher into the monolith. It's just such a nice approach on this base. And I think something very special must happen already before I'd switch the approach, because it's just so clean. The queen and the log launcher for the monolith, and then we can get the king in as a counter funnel and put the roots in the middle, just like so. Use some headhunters for this minion prince and king. I always use them there actually. Most of the time I try to use 2 up there and 1 for this queen on the king side. But yeah, I mostly want to save this log launcher and queen kill squad, so higher priority. Meanwhile, the army is wrapping around pretty nicely. And I'm just waiting on the overgrowth for my army to get a little bit closer. And this should be quite good, actually. The RC is getting pretty low. So luckily the ice golem was there, otherwise I would have used one of our spells. Let's use an invis on the queen. Hopefully we can keep her alive for a little bit longer. And then rage up once this overgrowth wakes up. And keep the invisibility for the RC. I'll use it like right here to make sure that the Giga Bomb doesn't actually kill her. She'll probably still die, but yeah, when that happens, the base is already gone. And she's actually staying alive until the end. So funny to see so many of the same bases in Legend League every day. So easy. So right here we have another one of the rage side compartments bases, and on this one I very much like the entry on the spitters. So that's mostly what I do, and try to take down one of the spitters so I can start from the other side. She doesn't always path the same way, so like for example, if after this X-bow she goes to the scatter and into the rage compartment, then I switch up the plan and go into this rage tower to make my entry. So let's see how she'll path this time. Normally with this king and the CC troops, she should be actually go straight into the monolith, just like this. That's pretty nice. Let's just recall out since the fox already died too. And then you have a choice to go either from the 3 o'clock corner or into this rage tower. So let me do this entry right here and use the king and the queen on the outside. Of course, with the troop launcher right now. Just raised up through the rage compartment and the warden ability for it too. And now my army is actually going into the town hall, which pretty much never happens. So let's readjust and go with a pretty early overgrowth to make sure that most of my army stays together and goes to the top side with the king and the RCR. So this is going pretty well. Let's rage up into this second rage tower compartment, pop the RC ability, and unfortunately the healers did split off, so that's quite unfortunate. Should still be more than fine. Yeah, perfect. Another triple. Let's go. We got our 320 in today, nicely and cleanly. No mistakes, no issues. So love to see that. And then, yeah, let's keep it going for the rest of the season. See you in the next video, guys.